Mikey P back in the Money Players podcast. Jackson Muniz back. Also, we're going to run it back this week for Assiniboia Downs since we didn't give you many winners last week, so we have to try again.
It was horrible. That was the worst. That was the worst handicap I've had in a while, man. I felt good about it too. I don't know how you felt, Mikey. Mikey, I think I can beat that favorite. I think I can beat that favorite. I think I can probably beat that favorite. They all won, and I was nowhere close. But that's how it's going to go sometimes when you're trying to beat short prices. So we flushed it, moved past it. We're on to this week. We're ready to go.
Ready to go for another dollar pick four, late pick four out of Assiniboia. They did have 142,000 in the pool last week, so there was plenty of money to shoot for. The problem was too many of the favorite horses won. So that's not our kind of sequence. Maybe this one might be a little better here on Wednesday, September 10th. A couple more weeks at ASD, and we're going to bring them to you every week. We're going to start race number 4 for this week's late pick 4 and 7.5. They're going $5,500 claimers here, Jackson. And can they beat Get My Drift? He's won a couple in a row, and he's been pretty dominant. He's going to get the front again.
Yeah, he probably is. And, you got to go back and watch that race on August the 27th, right? Because I believe there's 5 horses coming out of the same race. And you went back and watched it, and, he kind of went to the front, and they just gave it to him, and that was kind of it. That's all she wrote. They merry-go-rounded around there. So you kind of have to figure out what to do with that. Will they all do the same thing again? Will they give him the same easy lead, or will someone go impress him? I'm hoping that Ropes and Wranglers goes after him this time, because they kind of let him go last time, and he couldn't quite get there. But I thought Ropes and Wranglers actually ran well. And I'm hoping that this time they're going to go take it to him and turn it into a little match race, push the issue, and maybe it sets it up for a couple other horses in this spot. I'm going to use 2 horses that are not coming out of the same race. I'm going to go to the outside with Frankie's Girl, who's coming out of tougher races. It's been a little overmatched in those spots, but now is finding herself in a more appropriate level where she can be competitive in here. She should be coming from way out of it. So I'm going to use her from way off the pace. I'm also going to use the horse on the very outside, Compressed Energy, who's coming out of sprints, who's been closing in sprints, but has run well this distance before in the past too. I'd expect her to be more forwardly placed in here. I'm hoping if the 1 and 3 hook up, that she can be the one to kind of get the jump on the deeper closers. So I'm going to try to beat the favorite in here. I don't see a way they let this horse get an easy lead again in this spot against the same horses.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, the only horse that probably can push maybe is the 3, and really had the right trip last time, just couldn't track down. Now you get half a furlong less in this spot. So we'll see. I would think if similar fractions develop, that the 1 will have the advantage again. But I agree on the 7. I think Compressed Energy is an interesting entrant in here, because had to shrink down to 5.5 last time. Well, he wasn't going to do anything in that race. And if you watch that race, I still don't know how Cape Princess lost that race. I mean, really was, stone cold clearing the stretch and then just hit an absolute wall late. Well, this one was finishing up in that race, and I do think the extended distance will suit. It's fast enough to compete with these horses. Certainly is okay with this racetrack. It does need things to heat up, I think, up front to give the best effort. But coming out of that 5.5, maybe should be a little bit closer. So I do think it is an interesting use in here, but I would use the 1 also. I would use Get My Drift, because she's proven that she can beat these horses already, and she has the inside post. She has the advantage, full of confidence, and will be tough to catch again. So it'll be 1-7 to kick off that $1 late pick 4 on Wednesday at Assiniboia. Go to race 5 and 5.5 furlongs now. This condition allowance, a nice set of horses here. But Jackson, you have East Coast Cowgirl in here, who's won 4 straight, and she keeps moving up the ladder. She was claimed 3 back, and just facing these open claiming type races. She's been favored in the last couple, and she's done very well to win. She gets to the inside here. Now, it's a little bit of a tougher spot. You have Sophia Storm in here. They got 3-5 morning line coming off a dud in a $50,000 stake race, but was racing very well in stakes prior to that. And then there's others in here that can win, like horses like Sum It Up, who's a bit hit and miss, but raced, I thought, a lot better last time. I thought that one could be a use. And then the 4 Distinctive Deb, I thought was an interesting one, just because has been close recently. She's sort of like mid-pack, off the pace type stalking, and she just could get her trip in here. She's 10-1 morning line. Do you think the 3 wins at 3-5, or are you looking elsewhere?
I was looking elsewhere. My problem with her, she was really good 3 and 4 back sprinting, but she was always forwardly placed in those races, and then they stretched her out against similar foes, and she seemed to have lost that early speed, and now they're dropping her back in class. and cutting her back to a sprint. But where did that speed go? It's a little concerning for me, especially since she seems to have tailed off form pretty significantly in her last 2 starts. So I want to try to beat her, especially at 3-5. I don't know if she'll actually be 3-5, but I'm still trying to beat her either way. I did go to the 1 East Coast Cowgirl, who I think she's in really good form right now, and she's probably going to trip out yet again from the inside. That race 2 back when she stalked, she seemed pretty handy in that spot. She was waiting, and when she finally was able to find room in the stretch, she took off and went straight through the gap they gave her. I don't think the inside post is going to be any issue for her. There's speed to the outside, so I think she will be stalking again in here, but she just seems like she's in awesome form right now. She should be very tough to beat if she's able to replicate that most recent performance. So I'm all the 1 in here and going to take a stand in this race against the favorite.
Yeah, I definitely like the 1. I just think there's some others that have chances, and but I do think this is a favorite you do want to try to beat. And if she should fire and get back to that form, I understand it, but she'll do it without my money. Race 6, $7,500 claimers here. Now we're stretching out to a mile and a 16th. This would be a spready race for me. A lot of these horses have been facing each other recently. And if you look at that July 30th race, many come out of there. I thought the 6 Wrong Direction had the worst trip in there. This horse gets a jockey switch here back to the original rider that had been racing very well on him, back 2, 3, and 4 back. I think that should get a better trip here. I think that, if he does, that he's going to have a chance late. But I think there's others to use in here. I think the 3, 4, and 7 have chances. Jackson, what do you think in this race? You like the 1? Because that horse is probably going to be favored off that last race.
Yeah, I thought the 1 was okay. To be honest, I didn't like the 1 because I thought the last race where 5 horses again are coming out of the same race, he kind of had everything his own way in that spot. I'm not really sure how he lost from that race, and maybe he gets the easy lead again. But if someone goes with him, which I think could happen, I definitely don't want him at a short price. I agree with you on the 6, Wrong Direction. Just didn't break great, and then was always wide, made a bit of an early move to get into the race, and was always grinding away, just couldn't quite get there. I think if you want some out of the race, it's probably that horse, Wrong Direction. And now he gets a jockey upgrade. The bug has been struggling a little bit, so you're going from that guy to Knights, who's done well this meet. I just think if he gets any kind of decent trip in here, he should be pretty tough in this spot, and he's going to be a bit of a price. So I'll use him from just off of it. I'll also use the 4, Cajun Eddie, who was pressing in that race, was kind of between horses. He didn't run great that day, but then he came back on August the 12th right here when he was able to make the front end and just destroyed that field. Right back in for a similar spot, similar level. If he's able to get the front end in here, I think he could be pretty dangerous. So those are the 2 I'd probably use, hoping Cajun Eddie can make the front end with the lightweight in here, and then Wrong Direction from just off the pace. But it's a tough race. All the horses look pretty similar in this spot.
Yeah, I wonder if you noticed the jockey on the 5 here, S Chickenness. To my eye, he has no mounts at the meet so far. I was looking back in Equibase stats, hasn't had a mount since 2022. Now, when he was riding regularly, was very competitive and has plenty of wins on the card, but not having any kind of mounts for 3 years is a little concerning. And I really didn't like the 5 anyway, coming off of that was a pretty good, a really nice ride on July 30th in that race, and then was claimed. Yeah. And so what's your take on that one? Are you going to kind of take a wait and see approach with this jockey? He has a couple mounts in the sequence.
Yeah, I don't, especially in dirt races, I don't really mind jockeys that are a little less known. I think the horses tend to, overcome that when they're good enough to win in here. For me, it was more, you just talked about that race, the common race. He had just perfect ride. I mean, you could not have ridden that horse any better in there. Hub saved ground throughout, was able to take advantage of the race that collapsed a little bit towards the end and just was able to get the job done. Not sure he's going to take the exact same trip did last time in that spot, and he's going to be a much shorter price than he was that day.
Yeah, one long shot I just want to make mention of here is the 3 Nautical Moon. Jared Gourneau here got the prep last time, shipped up from Lone Star, was in for 5,500, and it was a little bit wide. Now you go to the main barn rider here. And I do think that this horse should be better here, second up for Gourneau. I think that one could be used 25 to 1 in the book. Certainly won't be that price on the board. But I think if you're fading the 1 and the 5, there's others in here that can certainly make this ticket pay more.
I like it.
Go to the 7. Yeah. 25 to 1. That's,
Yeah, he's got plenty of back numbers that make him tough. So I don't think he'll get 25 to 1, but maybe in something like the pick 4 where you're not going to see the board, he'll play a lot higher than he might be in the win pool.
Absolutely. Race 7 to finish up. We'll go to claimers here. Numbers of 3 lives, 7 furlongs again, Jackson. And we have Brinson from the rail with the aforementioned apprentice rider. That's 2 for 91. Can he make it 3 for 92?
I think he does. I think he's the best horse in the race, and he's just been facing better animals, and he's been improving with those last 4 or 5 starts. He's got a good inside post. He's going to be 4th place. He faced the horses that are his biggest contenders back on August the 4th, and I thought he definitely ran the best race of those 3 when he was always on the lead. Put away that rival, just got run down late, and the stretch out has obviously been no issue for him in his last couple starts. I just think there's plenty to like in here. He's getting back to a more appropriate class level, and maybe the low percentage connections help the price a little bit, because I do think he's way the horse to beat in this spot. And I think people will probably see that and maybe just try to beat him by default. But I think he's way the horse to beat in here. They're going to have to run a lot better to beat him.
I do think that's true. He does look the best on paper, but he does have to overcome the connections, and maybe they can. And I get it, and I understand that one. The 2 did beat this horse though, 2 back on August the 4th, and I do think that one can play very well in this spot also. And the most likely winner to me, if it's not the 1, it's probably the 2 in the race. And another horse I saw that might have an interesting look is the 5, Conspiracy Theorist. Now, I know this horse is stepping up in here, but you get Bayonne in here, and a closer, they could speed up, especially with the 1 and 2 with, these jockeys that, kind of, are struggling to win. So they might pull the trigger a little early. The 5, I do think, is a closer in a race that could heat up, stepping up the ladder, but has run against these horses before and didn't disgrace. Was 3rd to those 2 back on that August 4th race. So with any kind of trip, I do think contends in here. We have the Chicken This jockey also in here in this race on the 8 horse, which is 4-1 morning line. And that horse has a little bit of class also. So it's a mixed bag in here. Yeah, you have some riders that are seeking some wins that really haven't got very many recently. So I'm going to go with the 2 and the 5, but I could certainly see horses like the 1 and the 8, depending on the trips.
Yeah, the 8 is the horse that scares me a little bit, because he hasn't faced anyone that's in this race. He's kind of the unknown.
Mm-hmm. Well, Jack's a little bit shorter show, but I do think that this sequence merits a look, especially that $1 minimum there. And the ASD pools are massive. So, again, we're going to take a shot. It's just a matter of connecting the dots.
Yeah, I need some redemption from last week. That was embarrassing. That was horrible. So we're definitely taking a swing at this one. I felt pretty good about it. I felt like I was pretty skinny in some of these races, though. Maybe it feels like one you can press up a little bit, and if you're right, you can still pay pretty well.
Jump in on Assiniboia. Jump in with us. We're all over the network. Lots of shows coming this weekend. Kentucky Downs finishing up on Wednesday. We got the opening of Churchill on Thursday. Well, plenty of shows this weekend. PTF is going to Canada to check out the Woodbine Mile. JK in the mix to cover some stuff. So we'll be doing Inner Circle on Saturday. Again, if you're not a part of that, go to inthemoneypodcast.com/plus. Hopefully we can get you in on some of that content. Jackson, always appreciate you, and hope to talk to you soon.
Thanks, Mikey.
We'll see y'all next week.